Okay, I want to start off by saying that having good supervision is wonderful. And sometimes supervision sucks. Sometimes it's lacking. Sometimes we just have not great supervisors. And this can be really hard to figure out how to deal with. There's a power dynamic difference there, right? Like I'm the supervisee, I'm the resident, I'm the person who is underneath the supervisor. And what if I'm getting bad advice? What if I am getting no supervision? What if I am being made to feel like I can't talk to my supervisor or something's going to be used against me? The reality is that not everybody has a good supervision experience. And this sucks. I myself am a supervisor and I am constantly trying to do better, show up better. I'm constantly seeking feedback from my supervisees about what was helpful, how I can be more supportive for you. But I know that that's not the case for everybody. And I myself have been in supervision before, and it's a hard place to be. It can be lonely, it can be isolating. You're trying to figure out what you don't know and you're trying to find your footing as a young professional, and to not have a good supervisor in your corner can make that whole experience a million times harder. And unfortunately, I'm hearing and seeing so many people who are having not great supervision experience, and I hurt for you if that's where you are, because I know that that sucks. I know that that is an additional stressor when you're already trying to deal with so much, and it can be really hard to get the support that you need. So, I am going to compile a video series. This is part one of a whole series of bad supervision stories and bad supervisor stories, with the twist of, since I'm not your supervisor, I'm going to tell you what I would do in that situation instead. I'm going to give you the support that you are not receiving from your supervisor, and I'm going to utilize what I'm seeing and hearing online from therapists about negative supervision experience as my guide to give you this feedback. And specifically for today's topic, we are going to talk about this post from an anonymous person, about their not great supervision experience. They said, and it's posted anonymously, "Hey everyone, I am currently looking for some advice on how to approach my supervisor or possibly avoid it altogether. I am currently a group facilitator and master's level intern at a PHP IOP. I'm using this position as clinical hours for my degree. My supervisor has been very distant with me, and when I do speak with them, 9 times out of 10, they give me attitude. I maybe poke my head in her office 1 to 2 times per week, and even then, it's problematic. I do not come to her for help at all, and I'm very independent. However, I am supposed to be receiving individual clinical supervision, which has not happened once since I've been there for about 4 months. About 2 months ago, I told her I wanted to grow and asked if it was possible for me to get supervision, which she agreed to and has never followed through with. I am feeling very invisible. Is it reasonable to attempt to approach her and let her know how I am feeling?" Okay, what the hell? That's my first thought, is what the hell? My heart hurts for this person because I know that they're not alone, and I know that a lot of other people also have felt like that they couldn't go to their supervisor, they couldn't talk to their supervisor, or they've just not been getting the supervision that they are supposed to be getting. And again, there's this power dynamic of like, how do I bring that up, and how do I tell you that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing for me and my learning experience? And my heart hurts for this person. If you've been in this situation before, I hate this for you, because this really, it just sucks, for lack of a better term. And I have some thoughts as a supervisor myself about what I would do in the situation and how to handle it. So first I want to say, you are entitled to supervision. If you are working like this person is at an agency where you are an intern, you should be getting supervision. That is part of your internship. And to not be getting it is a problem. Now, if you're not getting supervision like you're supposed to, and you are a resident supervisee or an intern, I absolutely would take that to your supervisor. And it sounds like this person has done that and it hasn't been something that's come to fruition. And so my first thought would be, okay, can you ask them again? I wouldn't look at that as a negative. I would just look at it as you're checking in and you're circling the block here and asking them again, hey, when can we meet for supervision? If they give you pushback about that as an intern, I would go to the next person that I could talk to, whether that's my field instructor, whether that's my professor. I would say, listen, like, this is a situation I'm in. What should I do? Because you do need to get good supervision. And if this person is just not willing to provide it for you, then someone else needs to be aware of that, whether that's your field instructor or somebody else, and you need to get good supervision. So if that person's just not able, it needs to be brought to their attention that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing as a supervisor. And you shouldn't go without just because there's something happening with them. My hope would be that if you talked about this with your school, like whoever is putting you in that agency, they would either address it with that supervisor for you, or they would be checking on this and they would be like, okay, you're not receiving supervision, we need to intervene. Or they would say, let me give you an external supervisor that you can still get the supervision that you need because clearly something's going on with your supervisor. So that would be best case scenario. But in order to do all of that, this supervisor needs to be called on their shit. And I am not going to sugarcoat that. As supervisors, we have our own shit going on. We're not perfect. And sometimes, even if you are a supervisor, you're not in a position where you can manage that responsibility effectively. And if you're not in a position where you can do that, you can't sit your own stuff aside, you can't be there for the supervisee the way that they need, then you shouldn't be the supervisor. And so, if this is something that you have been struggling with, that you are relating to this post, I encourage you to take that to the next person that you can and advocate for yourself because your supervisor does not need you to walk on eggshells around them. They need to be called out on their shit. Nothing good comes from me pretending that your bad behavior, your lack of supervision that you're supposed to be providing me is helpful. Like, I'm not doing you any good. And I know that it can feel really hard to do this as a supervisee, but I encourage you to advocate for yourself and to find your voice and to use it. And if this person can't provide supervision, can you get it somewhere else from someone that you trust, from someone who maybe doesn't work for that agency and can give you a non-biased, view of things and just help you in the way that you really need. Again, I absolutely hate that this happens, but I know that it does. And so don't accept this as just what your supervision experience is going to look like. Ruffle some feathers if that's what it takes. Speak up, advocate for yourself, and really try to get the supervision that you deserve. Again, I know that's easier said than done, but if not, the alternative is you just accept that you don't get good supervision. And then I caution you on that because, well, what happens if something comes back on you and then you haven't been given the supervision? I mean, that's not fair, but you also can't say, well, I haven't been getting supervision, so I'm not at fault. Like, no, you're still someone who could be liable. So I hate that this happens. This sucks. So if this is you, please take those suggestions and please do something with that. And if you are a supervisor listening and you're like, ooh, maybe I haven't been meeting, with my supervisees like I should, this is just your reminder. You need to get on it. I'm also just genuinely curious what your take is on everything so far. So make sure you leave that in the comments below. I think we could start a really good discussion here. So let me know what you think. This next post, though, kind of is in line with this, which is unfortunate. They said, keeping this vague to protect anonymity, which here again, I'm seeing a theme already of I feel like I can't talk about this because I'm going to get in trouble for having a not great experience. And that sucks. Um, that really sucks. But they said, I was working with a supervisor in a previous position and agreed to meet every so often to engage in group supervision and individual when it fell under this supervisor's specialty. I feel like that we have a positive relationship. The supervisor has provided me with almost half of the hours necessary for licensure. Okay, so in this position, they are getting supervision from more than one supervisor as they're working towards their licensure, which is totally doable for a lot of licenses. So they're saying that this is someone who they worked with in a previous position that they're still meeting with every so often, strictly for more like consultation around areas of focus or specialties. So, okay. Then they go on to say, I have recently been unable to get in touch with the supervisor for brief consultation or individual supervision. I also have not been able to attend groups due to scheduling conflicts, and I'm getting anxious because I requested to meet with the supervisor twice without any response. Ugh. Is it reasonable to ask for the signed form for hours completed thus far, especially as it seems there are communication barriers and scheduling conflicts? I have a wonderful supervisor at the new job that is open to providing these hours. Okay, we have a couple things to unpack here. So, first, If you are not getting your hours signed as you go, please start getting your hours signed as you go. A lot can happen. And unfortunately, waiting to get all of your hours signed at the end could be 2+ years worth of signatures and verification that you don't have. So anything you can do to get that as you go, even if it's they sign, your logs, or they sign paperwork or whatever every 2 weeks, once a month, every week, whatever it might look like, get those signatures more regularly and consistently so that you're not finding yourself in a position going, I have months and years of logs that they haven't signed and now I can't get a hold of them. That just makes me uncomfortable even hearing it. I know of supervisees who have done that, and I myself as supervisor have sometimes been like, "Oh, we don't have to sign it every time. Like we can do it every so often." But really, best practice is get it as often as you can, so that you're not finding yourself feeling anxious about the fact that you have all of this supervision that they have not signed off on. So that's the first piece. The second piece is it reasonable to ask for the signed forms thus far because it seems like that we're not going to meet anymore? That's totally reasonable. In fact, ask as soon as you want to get that signature. Seriously, like if you need something or want something from your supervisor, don't hold back, ask them. Even if you think that that might be a little taboo or like, oh, I don't know, just do it. Seriously, just do it. This is your permission if you need it. Just go ahead and put it out there and ask them for it. The last piece of this is I haven't been able to get in touch with them and my responses are now going unacknowledged. I don't know what's going on with the supervisor. I don't, right? Like they could have something going on. They could be out on leave. They could have had something happen and you not being privy to that information or just not being made aware of it for one reason or another. So I don't want to go into it's probably the supervisor is just being crappy because I know most supervisors are really trying their best and they're doing good work. Um, but you not being able to get in touch with them after a couple of times to me says something is going on and I'm not sure what it is, but I wouldn't assume that this means anything negative about the working relationship. I would anticipate that this has something to do with the supervisor. They're busy, they've been on vacation, they've been sick, they've been dealing with something, and they just have not gotten back to you. So, an additional outreach, or maybe even a different type of outreach, like maybe a phone call, could be helpful. Um, Obviously, you can't make them talk to you, but I wouldn't assume the worst here. And I saw where the person said that they have been feeling anxious. And it's natural to feel anxious if you're like, I don't have my hours signed, I can't get a hold of them, and all of a sudden I'm starting to feel like something bad's going to happen. Hold off on that. Um, and really just try to stay as calm and centered as you can. Because I don't know if the supervisor is meaning to be so distant, but they also need to be called out on that. So I might say something like, hey, I've attempted to reach you a couple of times. I don't know if you're getting my emails or not, but I was wondering if we could meet. Or I was wondering if, it makes sense for us to go ahead and terminate. Can you sign my supervision log? Something to that effect. I would call them out on that, but I would do so in an assertive and respectful way. Again, like I said earlier, you pretending that things are fine isn't going to be helpful. Now, if you feel like that the supervisor might like withhold that or something, that's like a whole separate issue. And I hope that that's not the case. But if that is, then I would just do what you need to do to get that sign and get the hell out of there. Now, going along the lines of these signatures and this being issues, this next post really, this is not great. I completed 1,000 hours at an agency, then decided that after they strung me along for 8 months with promising me to move to an office way closer to home, I just bit the bullet and moved to a different practice. I asked for 1 month to close out clients, and they tell me I have 48 hours to see my clients and any that I can, and then close out the rest of my 60 clients. What? They eventually found out the new practice I was moving to. I sent closing emails with referral info for a new therapist at the existing practice or offered option to continue with me at the new practice. I know, not good. Okay, so I'm guessing they didn't like that. And just a little caveat here, if you are signing a non compete, you wouldn't be allowed to do this. So just be mindful of what you're signing. But they said, and then they sent me a cease and desist and tried to make me give up my new position entirely due to the non-compete and non-disclosure clauses in my contract. Okay, yep, there we go. My dad is a lawyer, and this helped me immensely continuing at my new practice, but the agency CEO is insisting my supervisor cannot sign off on my supervision hours due to ethical considerations given how I left the company. Is there anything I can do to fight this? I do have my supervisor at my current agency who I will advocate for me if need be. Okay, so this supervisor is withholding the supervision contract. They're not signing things because this person left, and it sounds like they maybe left and ruffled some feathers when they left, and they didn't leave on great terms because of this non-compete, and we've got a lot of stuff happening here. Okay, so this sucks. Like, as the supervisor, they should not be withholding something that you have earned and that they agreed to do, like signing your forms and verifying that. This is why it's really important to sign as you go. I'm not trying to say that therapists and supervisors out there are just coming, at you and they're going to try to pull a stunt like this. But clearly there's some hurt feelings here, and there's something happening where the supervisor feels like that they should withhold this. And I think that is terrible. Like, that makes my skin crawl, and I feel for this person who is going, I just want to be done with this, and I just want to move on to this new agency, and I just want you to sign my hours and, like, leave me be. In this situation, the supervisor should just sign it. And the fact that they're not is just crap. But you can only do so much. So I would actually, in this moment, I would contact the board and I would say, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And is there any way that I can go around this? Or get the supervisor to try to be on good terms to sign it. But if they don't sign it and the board says then it doesn't count, then I guess it doesn't count. And oh, that like makes my stomach drop because that sounds awful. But ugh, I have no words. It's just terrible. It's just not good supervision at all. I don't care how you end, what terms you end on. Be compassionate, be considerate. Like, ugh, don't drag it out, right? All right. Well, those were three not great cases. This is going to be a long series, so buckle up. I'm genuinely curious about your takes in this. And also, if you have your own personal experience, I'm interested to hear what that is as well. Make sure you leave that in the comments below and stick around for part 2. Alrighty, see you then.